Let's talk about the president and the economy. Axios says he's going to go to Pennsylvania next week and talk about the economy. And every Republican strategist I talk to, every member of Congress, they all say the same thing. Like, we're not in fantasy world. Donald Trump's not going to suddenly be like Bill Clinton giving 45 minutes theory of the case on economic growth, but they need him to talk more about this. Melissa, if you were in the super PAC war room of Team Trump, what would be the building blocks of trying to turn around these dreadful poll numbers that say repeatedly, even a lot of Republicans say they just they don't feel good about the economy and they don't see the president working on it enough?
Well, I don't think anybody, Republican, Democrat, or Independent, feels good about the economy, which is why his numbers are where they are. I think first he's got to be honest about the problem and diagnose the problem and then talk about some sort of a real solution. And he came in saying that when he got elected, the price of groceries was going to drop. He made all these grand promises and then the rubber met the road in a very impatient American electorate. And now his party is poised to pay the price for it. So he's got to be honest about the problem, what Americans are really feeling, because I think too many people see him obsessing about things like ballrooms and redecorating the White House and wars abroad and not enough here at home, and then lay out a real path forward on how they can deal with it in a realistic time frame where people can start to feel some relief.
Ben?
Yeah. I think there's two different things here. One is reality, and the reality is those that voted for Donald Trump feel like he's working very hard for them. He has a higher approval rating in the Republican Party right now than Obama, Biden, or Bush did at this point in their presidency among his party. That number is extremely strong, and I think you know that you have the base. They're paying attention. They realize it. Do I think there's things you can do politically in a PR way to let middle America or to let the undecided voters or those that are always just going to be a little bit cranky feel like you're doing more? Of course. Is the president obsessed over a ballroom? No. I haven't talked about that in weeks on end. That's the Democrats are obsessed with that, using it as a political talking point. But the reality I also think is many Americans are going to the gas station and they're seeing the prices insanely low right now compared to they were under Biden. They understand that the prices of certain groceries have come down as well. Eggs was an obsession of the left. And guess what? They're way down from where they were. And I also think inflation has come down from the heights of 9% plus under Joe Biden. So the president does need to do a better job of explaining that. I think having the McDonald's summit, for example, or what he's going to be doing next week is very important. And look, you got a PR message when you have so much of the mainstream media against you trying to say everything's doom and gloom. The reality is things are way better right now statistically than they were when Biden was president. He needs to hit that home and talk about what else he's doing, including that $2,000 either tax credit or check you're going to get from the tariffs.
You think we're going to get $2,000 checks from the tariffs for real?
I think you're either going to have a tax credit, and I've talked to several different people that are pretty tight on this in and around the White House. It may not be a check that shows up. It will probably come as a tax credit, was the last I was told 24 hours ago. But there will be a $2,000 real feel for the American taxpayer. The majority will actually get this. Now, the good news is if you paid your taxes and you're going to get a refund check, you're going to get an extra bonus of $2,000. How they're going to probably make that work. And They're trying to work through it. But I do believe before the midterms, you will see a real $2,000 benefit to most Americans.
If you accept my premise, explain to me why. And if you don't accept my premise, just say, Mark, you're wrong. I just see a paucity of original ideas for like 20 years in Republicans and Democrats on the economy. Like, where are the original ideas? A $2,000 tax credit's a gimmick. Where's like the original ideas on housing, on healthcare? Why can't this country generate plausible, popular ideas that will actually work? Not PR, not explaining what you've done and not trying to make people feel better, but where are original ideas? Am I wrong? Are there original ideas that I'm missing?
I mean, the economy is the economy. I don't know if there's that many new original ideas when you're dealing with housing or interest rates or inflation. I do think the $2,000 isn't a gimmick. I think it's real money coming in from the tariffs. The president saying this is how big of a benefit this is going to be. Government spending is also down under Donald Trump, something he said he was going to be working on as well. And so I think if you can turn a $2,000 check into an annual thing or actually lower the cost that people are paying in taxes and make it feel real and tangible, that's unique. But look, voodoo economics is a great way of describing, BS. I mean, Bidenflation, you want to talk about a gimmick? That was a gimmick. I think the American people want to be talked to in an honest way. They want you to be honest about where we are, what the perks are, what the benefits are, and what you're trying to do long term to change it. And if you do that, I think so many Americans are just so jaded towards what you just described, which is gimmicks, that they're saying, I just want something real. Give me something real. If this is where we are, how are you going to make it better? And that's what the president's got to do a good job of selling next week.
Melissa, does your party have original ideas on the economy?
I mean, yes, but look, there are different ends of the Democratic Party, and I'm just left of center. And so there are gimmicks, I think, that our party puts forward that are, I don't know if they're original, but they're free, right? They want to give free everything. They want to tax, they want to tax billionaires.
Mandani.
They want to freeze people's rent. They want to do a Green New Deal that's 14 pages long, that's not realistic. And I'm against all of that too. But I think when we talk about being realistic with the American public, whether or not the price of eggs has gone down, the price of groceries has gone up, not at the same rate as under Biden, but it has still gone up. And you've got the Treasury Secretary out acknowledging that certain parts of the economy are already in recession. Anything that's interest adjacent is in recession right now. And people have a lot of frustrations in terms of buying homes, in terms of a lot of different things. And so it's not enough in an American economy and an American public where you can get same day Amazon delivery, right? The average length of watching a TikTok is 14 seconds. You don't want to read a tweet beyond 120 characters. So there's a real impatience that exists for people who say, I voted for you, I gave you a year, where is my relief? And whether there has been some marginal relief at certain points of things, it's not enough. And that's what we're seeing in focus group after focus group. And I think that's what you've seen in the 2025 elections.
So when the Secretary of the Treasury and the Vice President at the cabinet meeting this week say, happy days will be here next year, the economy is going to be going gangbusters next year, is that based on data or is that just something they say?
I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, I think it's based on wishful thinking. And I think that to the point of the $2,000 inflation check, look, I was in government for a long time. We did this stuff too. You would do the checks that would come in an election year to provide some relief, and you'd put the governor's signature on it or the state legislature's signature on it to make people feel good as they're going to the voting booth. I just don't think, I think that the American public is so cynical that they see that for what it is now. And I don't think it's going to have the desired impact. It'll be nice for a minute, but I don't think it's going to change anyone's votes or opinion on the economy. So I think it's wishful thinking, but I think at this point, until we start to see some real movement, that's all that it is.
Ben, is there some data in the Treasury Department, some secret monitor in the Treasury Secretary's office that says everything's going to get better?
I think their policies are what's going to make things get better. I mean, I go back to there's two different types of BS in politics, right? There's cash for clunkers, or there's the president saying, I'm going to roll back standards on emissions so that we can actually make cars affordable again. I mean, the idea now that you can finance a car for 7 years and they're like 70 to 100 grand for a new car that has Ford on it is insanity. And so the president, I think, understands that. But I also go back to the idea that the economy is bad now is just not reality. And if you want this to be a unicorn economy, I don't think anyone knows how to actually do that and have everything kumbaya. I mean, what does that look like if your demand? You're saying if you're a Mandani Democrat, you're like, all right, well, I want free healthcare. I want free housing. I want free buses and public transportation. I want interest rates at 1%. And I want the government to pay for my college. That's not reality. That will never be reality. Somebody's going to have to pay for that reality, and it will bankrupt this country. So I would rather have what Donald Trump is doing right now and being more intellectually honest about it, that, hey, there are things the government can do to get out of our way. I can roll back these standards to make cars a lot cheaper. This could be several $1,000s on what you pay for a car. That is tangible. I can give you $2,000. That is tangible. And so if you keep doing that, I think you're going to head in the right direction. And also to put in perspective, I was looking at my phone a second ago. You've got a Dow at 47,000, a NASDAQ at 23.5, and the S&P at 6.8. Like, these numbers are insane. If this is a bad economy, I am more than happy to stay where we are all the way until I retire, because I'm going to be in great shape.
But that's because you're in the market.
Well,
that's part of what you look at the Trump accounts. This goes back to the bigger picture. Yeah. You look at what Donald Trump is doing with these Trump accounts. This could be like life-changing for millions of young people who get in the game early, so it's not so scary. The biggest reason why people don't invest is why? They're embarrassed, or they feel like they don't have enough money to actually invest. They feel like you must be making six figures to even think about investing. That is another thing I think can transform the country over the next 20 years.
If you're a homeowner in America, you need to listen to this. The FBI has been warning you about a type of real estate fraud. It's on the rise, and it's called title theft, and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals, they forge your signature on a single document. Then they apply a fake notary stamp. Then they file it with the county. And boom, just like that, on record, they own your home. Using your ownership, they can take out loans against your equity. They can even sell your property. And you're not going to know about any of this until the foreclosure or collection notices show up in your mailbox. That's why I'm partnering with Home Title Lock, so you can protect your equity and find out right now, today, if you are already a victim of this crime. Use my promo code MARK at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title records, urgent alerts to any changes that occur, and if fraud does happen, their US-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. That's HometitleLock.com. Use the promo code MARK.